My grandmother had passed away, and you know, in death you look for the documents and so forth. So I came across my mom's birth certificate, and it listed my grandfather as a farmer and my grandmother as a housewife. And you know, sometimes there's things that happen in life and it just sticks with you, and that was something that just stuck with me. I don't think my grandmother ever considered herself a housewife. She considered herself a farmer. And you know, sometimes in St. Lucia and so forth, back in the day, sometimes they'll put your profession for you and so forth. And being a younger woman as well, you don't recognize the gender dynamics and so forth. Everything is just, you know, this is what it is. These are the frameworks. I just go along with it. Most men back in the day, they felt that their role wasn't to go and sell in the castries market. That was a woman's role. So she would produce along with going to the market, and then coming home, she cooked 3 meals a day. I can't cook. I don't cook 3 meals a day. And to this day, I still wonder how she did it. And I started thinking to myself, but what if she had the required support? And it's not just about her, it's about essentially her legacy. And I think what catapulted me with Helen's Daughters is that that's not just unique to me. There are so many people who have that story, whose aunts, whose mothers and so forth, who worked in agriculture and they've never been recognized. It's very easy. All you need to do is take a walk to the castries market. These are hundreds, who knows, maybe thousands of females, whether they are reselling produce or whether they are producing it and selling it. And we don't recognize them. There's no vendor's registration that gives you concessions like a farmer. And that in itself is a bias and sets people apart. And naturally, I remember when I started Helen's Daughters and I was speaking to a ministry official, and that line stuck with me. He said, well, women don't farm, they vend. But even that action of vending means that you are connecting a buyer to a product. What we recognize is that there's not a lot of foundational education in sustainable agriculture. If there's programs, it's always very specific. Maybe it's water management, maybe it's roots and tubers, but there's not really foundational learning on not just agriculture, but how to tie it to being an agribusiness owner. So for example, with the Academy, we focus on those aspects, on handling climate change, on recognizing it. That's the other thing, is breaking down some of these terms that our farmers have for them to actually understand how to recognize the term, but how to recognize it in their own farm. The other thing, financial literacy, that's the biggest thing for us as well. A lot of our farmers, some farmers to this day in St. Lucia and across the Eastern Caribbean are unbanked. They don't trust the banks. Or there's a preference for the credit unions, but there's also a lack of understanding between the difference between credit unions and banks, understanding interest rates, and so forth. Contracts is another thing that we've included in our Academy. And then just developing an entrepreneurial mindset. We do quite a lot, but what we're sadly most known for is the farmers market. And I say sadly because it's like, I mean, yeah, it's the most external facing thing. And we get a lot of backlash. We've gotten a lot of backlash recently for having it in the north of the island. And I just have to address this because the thing about, I know I have to, because the thing about it is that what people don't recognize is that the north of the island is one of the most populated places, and there's no organized market there. There's a market in Castries, there's a market in Viewfort. Why would we want to disrupt those markets when there's a space where there is no market? And the thing about it is that we're connecting a number of rural women and communities to an urban population that otherwise doesn't have access to that.